Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good to have you here today, and we have a very special guest on the line as well, as I'm sure many of you know. So before we get started, though, if you all could just do me a quick little favor. You should see a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the screen, and if you can hear me, can you just kindly hit that thumbs up so that we have some kind of feedback? That would be great. And okay, great. I'm seeing more of that. Okay, good. So that is the most important thing. I wanted to make sure everybody can hear okay. So thank you, guys. I see that there was a question. Okay, and Melissa, yes. I see that your question was if we were here. So we are now live. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today for today's really special webinar. It's called WordPress for Nonprofits. The why, what, and how to get started. And our very special guest today is Rich Dietz. And we will be getting to Rich in just a minute. First, I'd like to take a second and go over some housekeeping items for everybody out there playing along at home or in the office. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see multiple widgets, and you can use those. You can resize them. They're movable. Feel free to customize them however you like to get the most out of your desktop space. And you can also, the slide area is pretty much front and center. You can expand that. You can maximize it to full screen. Just use the arrows in the upper right-hand corner. Any questions during the webcast, you can submit them through the Q&A widget, which, as I mentioned, I think it was Michelle had already found, or Melissa. So the Q&A tool at the bottom along, you will see the widget, it says Q&A. Feel free to send your questions. We're capturing all of those. We will answer your questions. There will be time at the end of Rich's presentation where he will take your questions. So if you want to submit those during, we will, I'll be happy to read them out loud to Rich during the Q&A period. And feel free to do that. All right, and a copy of today's slide deck and additional help materials are available in the resource list. That's a little widget that looks like a green file. There's also a link to Rich's site and other things we'll be talking about today in the course of the presentation. So for the best viewing experience, we recommend using a wired internet connection. Close any programs or browser sessions that are running in the background. They could cause problems. There is a question mark, I think it is for common issues with common FAQs regarding tech issues. So you can check on that. Usually it goes back to what I just said, which makes sure that you've got a good connection. You're not running anything in the background that's taking away from it. That usually tends to be the problem. So with all of that, let's see, this afternoon, we are going to be sending the recorded webcast to everybody. So you will get the actual recording will come via email, and you can share it with folks or download it and watch it again to go over any of the points that are covered. And we'll also supply you with all the contact information for Rich. You should be able to see the bio icon at the bottom of your screen, and that will bring up Rich's picture and also has some connectors so you can contact him directly as well. He's a great guy. So with that, let me start by saying that, introducing myself, my name's Amy DeVita, and I'm here at TopNonprofits. And TopNonprofits, for those of you who may not be familiar, is a digital resource. It's your online home and place to go for resources, lists, examples, posts, blog posts, webinars, podcasts, and really trying to bring you the information that can help you elevate your cause, and also, kind of bring some new trends to you too, so that you can stay up to date on your professional skills outside of what you're doing every day. So that's a little bit about TopNonprofits, and we're happy to be bringing you this event today. What I would ask is please do take the survey that is available also, I think, on your dashboard, and will definitely pop up after the event. Love to get your feedback. It's really helpful for us in putting together, crafting what our calendar includes. So with all of that, I want to again say thank you for joining us. I would like to introduce Mr. Rich Dietz, who is the founder. He's the CEO of Tri-Summit Solutions, but we actually met years ago at NTC, which is the Nonprofit Technology Conference. And Rich is a wonderful guy, but such a great sense of humor, very knowledgeable. I'm really building you up here, Rich. So setting the bar really high. Very knowledgeable, expert, has worked with and for nonprofits over 20 years. So, you know, lots of, he understands really the pain points on both sides and is bringing a lot of experience here to share with everybody today. So for that, I'm really grateful. And please, let's give a warm virtual clap for Rich. And at that, Rich, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate that. It's funny you talk about my sense of humor. I wasn't planning on using any humor in this presentation, so I'll see if I can add in a couple jokes here and there if we can. No, I'm just kidding, of course. I will see if I can try and keep it a little lighthearted. It makes it a little easier to pay attention and understand. I'm super excited about this presentation today, WordPress for Nonprofits, something I am very, very passionate about, WordPress. I actually started this new company, Tri-Summit Solutions, with 2 other partners, and we started it to help nonprofits specifically with their websites and specifically with WordPress. So it is definitely, I am so passionate about it that I started a new company, and I'm kind of getting rid of my other company there. So that's what we're going to be jumping into, WordPress for Nonprofits, so why, what, and how to get started. And before we get going, would like to do a little bit of a poll, if we could. Let me get back here. Look at my controls. Here we go. We got a little poll on the screen there. I just want to get a quick idea of your current experience level with WordPress. So go ahead and pick one of those options there. I'm a WordPress ninja. Yeah, I can use it. Total beginner here. I wish we had WordPress. Or what is WordPress? If you are much of a beginner with it, you can do that. And then I'm going to go and look at our results as you guys are submitting them there. I'll give you a couple more seconds here. Let's go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and let's go look at the results. I'm curious. Okay, we got most people in the yeah, I can use it, and total beginner here. We got a couple, I wish we had WordPress, and then we got, what is WordPress? Very good, very good. Okay, and we got a couple that said WordPress Ninja. So WordPress Ninja, so I don't want to say you won't get a lot out of the webinar today, but this really was a getting started sort of thing. So we're going to talk about what it is, why it's important, how nonprofits are using it. We're going to talk a little bit about the how, but you're probably not going to pick up too much until maybe the very, very end. However, if you are a WordPress ninja and you're tired of people asking you what's WordPress and why should we be using WordPress, then I think this presentation is going to be perfect for you because you're going to be able to just give it to them and say, this is why we should be using WordPress and all of that good stuff. So I think we'll have something for everybody in here, but I just wanted to get a kind of a pulse on that. So I think we got a really good group. That is perfect. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about who I am. So Amy introduced me a little bit there. My name is Rich Dietz. I've been in the nonprofit space my entire career. When I was an undergraduate at UCLA back in the early 90s, I was a part of a mentoring organization. We worked with at-risk youth in the community, you know, setting them up with mentors and all that stuff. And I did that for a very selfish reason. I wanted to boost my resume. You see, I wanted to go on and get a master's in business administration, and I wanted to make $1 million and drive a Porsche. As it turns out, I started working with the kids, and I kind of fell in love with it. So I graduated UCLA, ended up working with severely emotionally disturbed kids, ended up getting a master's in social work from UC Berkeley. So about as non-profit-y as you can get. Ended up falling into the technology role, probably like most of you fell into the technology role. Nobody else wanted to do it, or you showed a little bit of aptitude with computers, and they said, you're now the tech person. And so I know what it's like. I worked in small, medium-sized nonprofits. I know what it's like to have no staff, no time, no budget, and you're told to do all these amazing things with technology. And you're like, yeah, right. After I'm done doing all my other jobs, and after I'm done, you know, sweeping and vacuuming the office and doing everything that I have to do that's not even in my job description, and technology usually comes last, especially things like your website. So I definitely keep that in mind when I offer my webinars and my trainings and my courses, is I try to give you small changes that you can start making without having to invest $1 million into all of that. So that's who I am. Let's see a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Quick agenda. We're going to talk about the problem, the big problem that I see in the nonprofit space, then the what and why of WordPress. We're going to talk a little bit about disadvantages and advantages, because of course no solution is perfect. There are other solutions out there, content management solutions out there. So we'll talk a little bit about the disadvantages and advantages. Then we're going to go into what I think is really interesting is what makes a WordPress website. And if we really break down what is a WordPress website, the components that make it, I think you'll have a much better understanding of what that is. And then, of course, time at the end for Q&A. And I love Q&A, so please, if you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat, in the Q&A box there is what you're supposed to do. Normally, it's a chat box. On this platform, you put them in the Q&A section. You should have a link down at the bottom of your screen there. Type those questions in as you think of them, and then Amy and I will go back and grab them as we can. Let's go ahead and jump in here. This slide is probably going to date me a little bit. But when I was a kid, one of my favorite shows on TV was Different Strokes. And if you know the tagline of Gary Coleman's character there, it's what you're talking about, Willis. And so this is my reminder as a technology, quote unquote, person to not use all these crazy acronyms that you guys might not know what they are. So HTML and CSS and jQuery and ROI and blah, blah. If I ever say something that I don't define or that you don't know or don't understand, just type into the chat box or the Q&A box what you're talking about, Willis. And I will definitely go back and define that role. I usually do a pretty good job of this. Occasionally people will scream it out to me, but I've gotten pretty good over the years at not doing that. So let's talk about the problem. There is a huge problem in the nonprofit space, and that problem is your website. You probably already know this, but you probably try to not think about it, but it's something that I'm going to actually have to talk about here for a little bit and probably make you feel a little uncomfortable about your website. So the big issue is that your supporters are having amazing customer experiences on other platforms. They are getting used to the online world being this wondrous place where businesses really get to know them, understand their needs. They're providing them with beautiful looking sites that are easy to navigate. They can see it on their mobile phone. They can see it on their tablet. Everything looks great. Zappos, Amazon, Netflix, all those guys are doing all this stuff, right? And then what happens is you start thinking about your website, and you have to ask yourself, is your website kind of partying like it's 1999? Does it look old and outdated? Does it look like it really hasn't been updated in a long time? And this right here is an actual website that you can go to. So if you ever feel bad about your website, go to this one. It's the world's worst website ever.com, and you will see a horrific website. It's actually kind of funny, all the little bells and whistles they put on there. But if you have a website that you're not really proud of, you're probably not going to want to drive traffic to it. You're probably not going to want to send people there. In fact, I work with a lot of clients when they first come to us where they would rather send traffic to their Facebook page than their own website. And they do that because they're so embarrassed of their current website. And I can tell you that is a huge mistake. Mark Zuckerberg wants you to do that because he makes billions of dollars by you sending all your traffic there, and then they click on ads and all that stuff. But you don't have any control over that traffic. You don't have any way to get them to then engage with you better and donate and all that stuff. So we want to have a website that we're proud of. The next big problem I see with nonprofit website is, are you able to update your own website? Are you able to easily add blog posts, add a video, add content, add a new page, change your navigation? Are you able to do all those things? Because this is another big problem is if somebody comes to your website and they see it hasn't been updated in 3 years, or they come back again and it's the same exact content that was there last time, why would they ever want to come back again? They just won't. They'll just stop coming to your website because it's never updated. It's what we used to call a brochure website, right? It's basically a piece of paper, but put on a computer screen, right? No one's ever going to want to come back to that. Now, even worse, the one that really, really upsets me, problem with nonprofit website, is people being held hostage. This is one of the reasons we started Tri-Summit Solutions. In fact, if you go to our blog, we have a manifesto that we've written about how upset we are about web designers, web developers that hold their clients hostage. And what I mean by that is if you can't make updates on your own website, you have to go to the web developer, you have to go to the web designer and say, hey, we have a new event coming up, can you add this page? And then after a week, they don't do it. And so you email them again and you say, hey, we really need this page up. And they're like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then 10 days later, they finally put the page up. And then you've lost 10 days of that traffic, of all of that attention on there. And so we're very upset about people being held hostage. And so a focus for us is giving people options where they can do all of this themselves. So all of these problems in the nonprofit and website space all comes down to your website probably is a little boring. It probably is not as exciting as you'd like it to be, or worse, it could be driving traffic away. It could be causing people to flee in droves and never want to come back. So you really need to be thinking about that. Sorry, I had a glitch there. So what we say is you probably need a new website. It's probably time for you to get a new website, especially if you have an old website that was built in Dreamweaver or, heaven forbid, something like Front Page, and it's like static HTML pages and it just looks horribly out of date. You probably need a new website, and if you need a new website, then you want to start looking at how to do that. Obviously, today we're going to talk about WordPress, but when you're looking at getting a new website, there are tons of options out there. And if you've been thinking about getting a new website, you are probably overwhelmed with how you're going to get that done. First of all, you have to think, who can help us? Are we going to do it ourselves? Are we going to go DIY and we're just going to bear down and try and get this done ourselves? We've had clients that have been trying to do that for over a year and they just never quite get around to it. You can go to a design firm. You can go to a consultant. They're going to tend to be a little more expensive. You can go to a freelancer. You can even do one of the popular ways that nonprofits get a new website, the daughter of a board member who really likes to play on the web, or she's really good at social media, so they think she can build a website, or the cousin of a friend's, of the CEO or of the executive director, all of that stuff, so you think through all those things. And then if you do get someone that can do it, you then have to jump over and think, what do I use? What platform should I use? The GoDaddy builder that I get free with my GoDaddy hosting? Please don't do that. Please don't do that. That's one tip to take away. Don't use the GoDaddy builder. A lot of nonprofits are turning to things like Wix or Weebly or Squarespace. We're going to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of those in a little bit. And then others are turning to true content management systems, and we'll define what that is in a moment, a CMS. And that's like Joomla, Drupal, and WordPress. And you've probably heard those names thrown out a little bit. As you're looking at all these options, what I want to do is kind of help you narrow that down to make WordPress one of the options that you're really looking at. It is the one I'm a huge fan of. It's the one I'm going to be advocating for here. But we will talk about some of those advantages and disadvantages either. So like I said, I'm a huge fan of WordPress, but at the very least, I suggest you go with a true content management system, or what's called a CMS. And not some proprietary system that the design firm wants you to use. This is happening less and less so, but even as short as 2-3 years ago, a lot of design firms that would build websites for you would have their own content management system. Like they were the only ones that knew how to use it, and if you've never heard of it before, you probably don't want to use it, because then you're going to be reliant on them. They could hold you hostage. It could be one of those things where they hold you hostage. We don't want that to happen. So we want to go with a legitimate, known content management system. Again, WordPress is my favorite one, so that's one we're going to focus on mostly today. So the what and why of WordPress. Let's kind of get into what we're talking about here. So what is WordPress? Well, WordPress is the most popular CMS in the world. 25% of the web is built on WordPress. And when we look at that, we are seeing things like The New Yorker is on WordPress. BBC America is on WordPress. Fortune magazine, the Fortune.com companies use WordPress. All of these really huge companies use WordPress. So if BBC America and The New Yorker, if it can handle their needs, it's most likely going to handle the needs of your nonprofit. But most importantly, and this was kind of a game changer for me, when I saw this, I knew WordPress was the best platform in the world. Beyonce uses WordPress. All right, so if Beyonce uses WordPress, I think we can just probably end the webinar right now, and that's probably enough evidence for me. I don't know about you, but if Beyonce uses it, we know it has to be good because she only goes with quality materials and quality things, style, all of that stuff. So that's the evidence. Even more so, though, according to some surveys I've seen, 41% of nonprofits are using WordPress. And I've seen this. There was a Blackbaud did a study of 808 nonprofits, small, medium-sized nonprofits. They found 41% of those are using WordPress. I've also seen some of the awards that are going on, like the 2016 Classy Awards. I believe 45% of those were built on WordPress. So it really is that popular platform. But what does that mean? Okay, so it's popular. What does it mean? What do we really mean when we say something is built on WordPress? Oh, actually, I just think I went the wrong direction. Hold on. Trying to learn this new platform, guys. Sorry. There we go. So we want to use WordPress. One thing I do want to point out, and this is a slide you're probably going to want to come back to and look at later so you can see that detail over on the right. There is a big difference in versions of WordPress. There are two styles of WordPress, WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Okay, so .com, WordPress.com is where you go to WordPress.com, you sign up online, and they give you a free website right there. You can then pay for add-ons where you can add your own domain, you can add different things, you can do all that sort of stuff. What we're going to be talking about today is WordPress.org. You go to WordPress.org to learn more about that, but that is where you install WordPress on your own hosting. Now the big difference here is WordPress.com is a limited version of WordPress. They actually lock down, so it's easier to get set up, it's easier to sign up, all that stuff, but they lock down a lot of the functionality that we're going to talk about today. They only allow you to use certain plugins and functionality. They don't allow you to embed things like JavaScript, and that becomes really important when you're looking at online fundraising. A lot of the new online fundraising platforms allow you to embed a donation form directly on your website or embed a registration form. You can't do that on WordPress.com. So what we're going to talk about today is the one you install on your own hosting. And we'll talk about that in a moment, and it's not as difficult as you might think. So we'll get into that. So just make sure it's WordPress.org. Let someone steer you towards WordPress.com because they say it's easier. As we'll find when we look at some of the other systems, easier usually means less functionality, and so we don't want to go down that path. So basically that's what it is. WordPress is a content management system. It allows you to easily add your own content, update your content, add in all kinds of whistles and bells and features and all of that stuff. And what I love about WordPress is it lets you do it on your own. So that's kind of what WordPress is. I think it's going to make more sense when we really dig into the separate sections of what makes a WordPress website. So hold on before we get there. So the why of WordPress. So I've already convinced you want to use it because Beyonce does, but let's go into some other reasons why you might want to use WordPress. First of all, I'm not the only one saying this. There was actually an article on TopNonprofits that was 4 solid reasons nonprofits should be using WordPress. So you're going to want to go check out that article. They go into some of the same reasons we're going to talk about today, but if you want to get somebody else's opinion, that was by Becca Block. So you can go read that article as well. But another reason I really love WordPress is it's easy to learn and use, and there are tutorials and help for it everywhere. Since it is the most popular content management system in the world, there are tutorials, online classes, courses, YouTube videos. You can always find help for WordPress. In fact, if you go to YouTube or go to Google and you type in how do I blank in WordPress, I guarantee you there will be videos, there will be articles, there will be screenshots about how to do that thing. It is that popular that you can always get help. So you're never left alone when you're using a popular system like WordPress. It is also super powerful and dynamic. Okay, it can do all kinds of amazing things. It is already out of the box SEO optimized. You can even add in extra plugins or functionality that we're going to talk about in a little bit that make the SEO even better. It's mobile right out of the box. If you pick a theme, and we'll talk about themes that are mobile, your website is automatically mobile optimized. You don't really even have to worry about it or think about it. It's multilingual. So they've built WordPress. It's the most popular in the world for a reason. You can easily change languages within WordPress, and there's functionality where you can have the user even select what language they want to see the website in. So multilingual is built in. And for nonprofits, I know a huge deal is accessibility. Well, WordPress spends a lot of time focusing on accessibility. In fact, they have a page on their website that is their accessibility handbook, and they have a whole team that works on accessibility issues to try and make sure that WordPress is as accessible as possible. And there's even plugins, extra functionality you can add in, like the WP accessibility plugin. And these are things that we use with our clients when they really need a site that is accessible, 508 compliance and all of that stuff. WordPress is a great platform for that as well. The next thing is open source. So WordPress is an open source product. Now, what does that mean? A lot of people don't know what open source is. Open source means the source code is freely available and the community is allowed to take some of that code, build their own functionality, change the functionality, update it. That is how WordPress has such a huge amount of plugins and extra functionality that you can add on, because any developer in the world can build their own plugin, and there's a way for them to easily add that into a website, or a way for you to easily add that into your website. So that's what open source means. And what that does is it really creates, because it's open source, because people can do their own coding and everyone starts talking about it and all that stuff, it creates an amazing community as well, which we'll talk about in a moment. It's also easy to find good people to work on it. I actually don't even care where you live. You could probably find people in your town that are WordPress ninjas, that are WordPress experts, because it is so popular. Everybody's using it. If you live in a college town, you can go throw a rock on campus, and whoever picks up that rock, I will almost guarantee knows how to use WordPress. It's becoming that popular, especially with young folks and all that stuff. Or it's very easy for technological people to pick up. But it's very easy to find help. When you need help with WordPress. There's a lot of great folks out there. Obviously we think we're better because we also know nonprofits, but you could find other people out there that just know WordPress as well. And so the final reason that we really love WordPress is the community. It's everywhere, and there's just a really cool, amazing people. In fact, WordPress is so popular that they started these things called WordCamps. And they do WordCamps all over the world. You can see on this map here, this is all the places that have WordCamps coming up this year. And so wherever you live, you can find a WordCamp in your area. And WordCamp, basically it's an unconference. It's a conference everyone shows up to. It's all WordPress fans. They got beginners, intermediate, advanced WordPress users, and they break off into groups and they just start talking about WordPress. People will propose doing a session. They'll do a session on it. They're fun. They're great. Everyone really gets into it. Everybody is really wanting to help each other out to make WordPress the best platform it can be. Again, one of the advantages of it being open source really helps build that sense of community. So that's all of the whys of that we want to use WordPress. Hopefully you're convinced that WordPress is looking like a good thing now, and you probably want to explore it further. But before we do that, let's look at some examples. I want to show you that other nonprofits are using WordPress, and let's let you go look at some of those examples. So if someone says, well, WordPress sounds great, but how do I know that it's legit? How do I know that other nonprofits are using it? First thing you can do, and one of my favorite tools in the world, is Google. So I just go in and ask Google, nonprofit using WordPress. And I think I found 691,000 results last night for nonprofits using WordPress. You can also, really interesting, is type in best nonprofit WordPress sites, and that'll bring up a lot of articles people have wrote about their favorite WordPress websites. You'll get to just see some beautiful, amazing websites. And if there's some specific ones you want to go check out, I've listed some here in the slides that you'll be able to go look at. But I did look at TopNonprofits. One of the things I love about TopNonprofits, I'm sure you guys do too, is their lists. They list the top mission statements, they list the top websites, they list the top blogs, top books, all of that stuff. Well, one of the lists they have is the 20 best nonprofit websites. They haven't updated it yet for 2017, I don't think, because I got the 2016 edition. But 5 of the top 10 websites in their list are built on WordPress, including the number 1, which was Acumen.org. So big names that you guys have heard of: Greenpeace, Case Foundation, One.org, Invisible Children, all built with WordPress. And so you can go look at them and see the functionality, see how beautiful they are. And those are all things that you can do as well with WordPress. Now, you might not have the budget of Greenpeace, but what's nice, what we're going to talk about later, is that you can get a site that looks pretty close to Greenpeace by using a new, modern, updated theme. Might not have all the bells and whistles that they have, but you can get pretty darn close and make it look beautiful. Other websites using WordPress, janegoodall.org. That's Jane Goodall's website. It works with the chimpanzees. Beautiful website, just gorgeous pictures there. Smaller ones too, DC Diaper Bank. The Smithsonian, the African History Museum, Smithsonian Museum uses it. Chan Zuckerberg uses WordPress. So if Mark Zuckerberg, Mr. Facebook himself, uses WordPress, you probably bet it's a pretty good platform, because he could probably create his own content management system if he wanted to. In his spare time, in his living room, he could probably create one in a weekend, and it would probably be a darn pretty good platform, since he knew all that he did to build Facebook. But instead, he chose to use WordPress, so that's important right there. 2016 Nonprofit Classy Awards, 45% of those sites that were nominated for the Nonprofit Classy Awards were using WordPress. So again, tons more for you to check out there. Now let's get into kind of the nitty-gritty here. Let's talk some truth. Let's talk disadvantages and advantages to WordPress. Of course, no system is perfect, as I mentioned. Everything's going to have its ups and downs, its pros and cons. In fact, if you talk to a Drupal fan or a Joomla fan, they're going to tell you some things that are wrong with WordPress, what they do better, and all that stuff. So I'm going to present to you what I see as the disadvantages and advantages of WordPress. So the disadvantages, the first one is there is still a learning curve. You do have to spend some time getting to know the WordPress logic, maybe doing some tutorials, some online courses, and all that stuff. But I can tell you, I have seen higher adoption and better use with my clients using WordPress than with any other platform that I've used. So I've used Joomla in the past, I've used Drupal, I've used Wix, I've used Weebly, I've used Squarespace, I have used all of those platforms, and I can tell you long term, my clients on WordPress are happiest. In fact, I've had many that have moved from those other platforms to WordPress, and they have told me that they are so happy that they did. Once you get that training, once you kind of get over those basics, there's some great videos. In fact, all of our clients, we actually embed videos directly in their WordPress website on how to do everything in WordPress. They don't even need to go to YouTube. They can see right within their WordPress dashboard all of the videos that we've added in there about how to add an image, how to crop an image, how to add a page, how to add a post, all of that stuff. So it really does make that easy if you do that learning. Another disadvantage is you probably do need some help to get this set up correctly. Something like a Weebly or a Squarespace, you could probably set up a pretty good website all by yourself. You don't need any help from anybody. You pay your $25 a month and you kind of go about your business. I think you're going to lose some functionality there. You're not going to be able to do as much as you could with WordPress. But if you really want WordPress set up correctly, doing it all yourself can be a little challenging if you don't have the time to do it. So you might have to bring in someone to help you. Now that could be a volunteer. That could be a board member. That could be someone that you know that's a really good WordPress expert, and they're going to donate their time pro bono. You can also go to a firm, a consultant. You could work with us. We would love to work with more of you all out there. But you probably, if you really want to get it set up right, and once you get it set up, then it is really easy to maintain going forward. The last disadvantage, and the one that most people complain about on something like WordPress, is security. And ooh, security is so scary. Everyone kind of freaks out about security, and they talk about, oh, WordPress is getting hacked all the time. All I ever hear about is security vulnerabilities in WordPress, blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about security for a moment here. So first of all, yes, WordPress is targeted. It is the #1 content management system in the world. Of course, hackers are going to go after WordPress. It's just like why Microsoft gets hacked more than, say, the Mac, because it's just has a bigger footprint. There's more websites out there. People are going to go after it. So they will go after it. However, it is fairly easy to address this if you have a good plan. And I will tell you that our clients that we work with and the ones that we teach them how to keep their sites updated. Very unlikely that they're going to get hacked. And if they do, we have ways to roll it back and get that back. So let's talk about that security for a moment and some really big suggestions here. #1, update your plugins and update your WordPress. So WordPress will tell you right in the dashboard when a plugin needs an update and when WordPress itself needs an update. And all you have to do is go click updates, and it will update the software for you. It kind of happens automatically. But the #1 reason that websites get hacked on WordPress is out-of-date plugins and out-of-date WordPress. The main reason that these plugins in WordPress are being updated is because they have a security hole. The developers patch that hole, and then they release an update. If you don't add that update onto your site, the hackers are searching for that specific security hole, and if you don't update, they have a front door right into your website. So that's job #1, is updating your plugins and doing it on a daily basis. If you see an update there, you better do it. Now, in the old days, a lot of people got afraid to do updates because when you did an update, things would break in WordPress. The platform's become a lot more mature. I rarely ever see that happen now. If it does, it is a temporary glitch, and you can easily roll back. And the best way to do that is by having automated backups. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see nonprofits making when I start working with them, is not backing up WordPress. There are tools, we're going to talk about one of them in a little bit, that you can add into your WordPress to automatically back up your website on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. You can even store those backups off-site, all of that stuff. We back up all of our clients' websites on a daily basis. So if anything ever went horrifically wrong, they could accidentally delete half their content, and we could have it all back in a matter of 10 minutes. So if you have those automated backups, you're always going to be safe. Even if you get hacked, you can always roll back to the previous day, and you're going to be fine going with one of those. There's also some really cool security plugins or functionality that you can add into WordPress. We're going to talk about one of the ones we like, iTheme Security. But it automatically will add in a whole bunch of security features to stop hackers. It'll do things like if somebody tries to log in too many times with the wrong password, it will lock out that IP address. And this is what hackers will do a lot. They'll go to your login page and they'll use a brute force attack to try and guess passwords. And so if they try to do that, this plugin will lock them out so they can't do it again for another 7 days or whatever settings you set there. You can set it to where if someone tries to use the default WordPress password of admin, it will lock them out. And there's another good tip. Don't use the default WordPress admin. Change that or delete that admin account as soon as you can and add a new account with that is admin. Because again, hackers, if they know that most people have the default of admin, they're going to be using that to try and hack your site. They already have one piece of information. They'll only need to guess your password before they get in. And then the other big one is just basic security procedures. And that is having strong passwords and not writing them down on pieces of paper or not writing them down where someone is going to see them. But the big one there is strong passwords. I can't tell you how many nonprofits I talked to that their password is the name of their organization and whatever year it was that they made that password. So blah blah nonprofit 2014, right? Do you think that might be something that a brute force attack might be guessing for? The name of the organization plus a year, and they try that about 4 or 5 different years, and then boom, they're in your site. So please don't use simple passwords like that. You can use a password generator that will create you a really hard to guess password, and then you can use that to log in the future. But all those things will help your site be more secure. Moving on to the advantages of WordPress, and we talked about some of these in the why you should sign up for WordPress. It's powerful, yet it's easy to learn. It's easy to update your content. This is one of my favorite ones, is where we get a new client, we get them set up on WordPress, we do our training, we do a live training with them, we then give them their videos, they get in there, and within a couple weeks, I'm not hearing from them anymore, and I'm starting to get worried, so I go look at their site, and I see that they've added 3 blog posts in the last 2 weeks, and they did it all by themselves. They didn't call me, they didn't have any issues with it, they got an image in there, they even embedded a video, and that's where I get really excited. Even with people that consider themselves technophobes, they are able to update and add content to their own website, and that really is a game changer because that makes their website fresh, and people are going to want to come back. You can extend WordPress with plugins and themes, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. You can add in just amazing functionality with 2 or 3 clicks. You'll have this new functionality added to your website without having to know any code. Like I said, easy to find help. And the last really big advantage that is important to me is you own it. All right? If you have it installed on your own hosting and it's your account and you're logging in, you own that website. Nobody can hold you hostage. In fact, we do not hold our clients hostage on purpose because of the manifesto that we wrote. We give our clients all of their logins. They have the control over the entire website. If they want to fire us tomorrow, they fire us and they could take their website and go to someone else. That is totally fine. You should be owning that website. So that's another big advantage there. So now let's compare. So we kind of, we looked at the advantages, disadvantages of WordPress, and I'm just trying to see where we're at here on my thing. There we are. So the advantages, disadvantages of WordPress, all of that stuff. Now let's look at kind of the other systems out there and where I think WordPress falls. You can probably guess where I think it falls. But on the left-hand side of the screen here, we have the easy but less control, less features side of the building. And that is Weebly, Wix, and Squarespace, and those sort of things. Very easy to get set up, very easy to make a pretty good-looking website, to be totally honest with you. But you don't get as much functionality. Or if you want more functionality, you have to do all these add-ons. So it's $10 a month here and $15 a month here, and then you can add events, and then you can do this. And really, you don't have as much control. You still got to stay within their proprietary platform. On the far right of that, we have super powerful platforms, but much more difficult to use, something like a Drupal or a Joomla. And you might hear some developers talk about those. People that love Drupal, love Drupal. People that love Joomla. I can tell you in my experience, I've had many clients leave Drupal and Joomla and come to WordPress because they really couldn't get the hang of those 2 platforms. The logic just didn't make a lot of sense to them. And I've used both of those platforms, and I can tell you WordPress just makes more sense, I think. The way they've built it is just more user-friendly. They have some really weird taxonomies and really weird structures, and you have to remember what a module is versus a content piece and all that, so not a huge fan of those. They can be very powerful, and they do power some amazing websites online. But of course, you probably know my favorite, and that's WordPress. And I think WordPress really is kind of the best of both worlds there. It gives you the ease and control of the smaller ones, and you can develop some really powerful platforms on there as well. So just a huge fan of all of that. So what makes a WordPress site? So we've talked about what WordPress is. We've talked about why you should be using it, the advantages and disadvantages. Let's break down the things that make a WordPress site. And I'll tell you, a WordPress site is really just 5 things. You only need 5 things, and it's really everything else falls under these 5 things. Number 1, you need your own domain, and you need a hosting account. And we'll talk about that in a moment here. You then need to install the WordPress files, or what's called the WordPress core, and set up your database, your DB, which is your database. That's where all your content and WordPress is going to be held, is within a database on your own hosting. Again, this sounds complicated. It's actually not that complicated once you see it. You then need to pick a theme, and that is the general look and feel of your website. What colors, what's the layout, what's the structure. There's a million themes to actually choose from. Then you can add in your own plugins, and plugins are that extra functionality that you literally can plug right into your website. We'll talk about what some of those plugins are, but let's say you want to add a MailChimp opt-in widget in your sidebar. Well, there's a MailChimp plugin that you say, I want to use the MailChimp plugin. You download it, you install it, you add in your MailChimp API key, and boom, you have a opt-in, first name, last name, email address, opt-in right in your sidebar, and then it automatically sends that data to MailChimp. You didn't have to know HTML, you didn't have to know JavaScript, you didn't have to know coding. You just installed this plugin, answered a couple questions, and you have that working. So we'll talk about plugins as well. And then finally, content. You obviously need content. That's the one thing that WordPress can't really do for you, but it makes it very easy to do. So it makes it very easy I'm sorry, I was just looking over the chat box. I thought I saw a question coming in the chat box, so I got distracted there. So it makes it very easy to add those pages, makes it very easy to add those blog posts. As I told you, a lot of my clients are doing that on their own now. So breaking that down, let's look at the domain and hosting. Remember, we're talking about WordPress.org here, not the this is the self-hosted. This is where you have to actually install it on your own server. So you have to go get a domain name if you don't already have one. You probably already have one. Most nonprofits have a domain name. So you can use that one if you want. And then you need to get hosting. And there's all kinds of different hosting you can look at out there. There's cheap hosting like GoDaddy. I am not a huge fan of GoDaddy hosting. I've had too many clients having problems with them. It's cheap for a reason. With hosting, just like everything else, you get what you pay for. I've had clients that GoDaddy has them on just very old, outdated servers, and it is causing problems with their WordPress installation. Specifically, to get more technical, things like version of PHP, which is what WordPress runs on, if that's not updated to the most recent versions, a lot of plugins just won't work, and will have all kinds of errors. And the plugin developers won't help you because your version of PHP is so old. So a little technical, but I'm not a huge fan of GoDaddy right now. I don't think they're doing a very good service to, especially their lower end customers. Then there's more moderate hosting. One I am a fan of is SiteGround, siteground.com. It's where I host some of my clients on SiteGround. We host some of our clients, some of them we also host at SiteGround. They have a little more expensive than GoDaddy, especially their higher packages, like their GoGeek package is, $15, $20 a month. Something like that, but has a ton of really cool features, really good solid uptime, and great customer support. So I am a fan of them. And then you can get a little more expensive, something like a WP Engine. And a WP Engine is the new sort of managed WordPress hosting. They focus specifically on hosting WordPress websites. And so because of that, they are able to really optimize the hosting just for WordPress. And I know some of my top clients use WP Engine, and it's a host I love to work with because they do all kinds of things, like they do automated daily backups for you. You don't even have to remember to do it. Right inside your WP Engine dashboard, you have all your backups for the last 60 days, and if you want to go to any of those versions, I can just say restore, and I click one of those days, and my website goes back in time to that exact day. So if I ever totally mess something up, I can go back and do that. And WP Engine, I think, starts around in the $30 a month range. So, not going to break the bank, but you do get a lot of really great features for that. So once you have the domain and hosting, you then have to figure out how to get it installed. You have to figure out how to get WordPress installed on there. So you can do it a couple ways. You can download the files from WordPress.org, and you can manually upload them to your server, and you could create your database and do all that stuff. Or most hosts now have what's called a one-click install of WordPress. So SiteGround does this, WP Engine does this. You basically go in and you just say, I want to install WordPress, click, and it will do it all for you. It will set up the database, it'll install WordPress, it'll create your first admin account, and then they give you a login screen and a password. You log in, you have WordPress. You have WordPress up and running. It is really that easy. So you don't have to know all that stuff about databases if you don't want to. So once we have our WordPress core installed, the next thing you want to jump into is picking a theme. And this is where a lot of people get really bogged down because themes have there's so many options out there. In fact, right inside WordPress, so this screenshot right here is inside our WordPress dashboard. You can go to Appearance Themes, and it'll list the themes you have installed, or you could say add new, and it'll pull up all of the themes that are currently in the WordPress.org directory, and you can install one of those with one click. And it'll install the colors and the look and the feel and all that stuff. You then can go in and configure it and swap out photos and change colors and do all that stuff, but there's a ton of themes to choose from. The hardest part is trying to pick one and pick one that you know is good. The tips I will give you, though, is always make sure the theme you pick is mobile friendly, or what's called mobile responsive. If it is not, I would not go with that theme no matter how pretty it is, because you need to look good on mobile nowadays. But what's nice about it is you don't need to know HTML, you don't need to know CSS, you go configure it and you can make it look really pretty. Now, another thing I'll tell you is in the theme world, there are two types of themes. There are free themes and there are paid themes. And most people go for free themes because they're like, oh, why would I pay for something when it's free? I'm going to install this free theme. It looks beautiful and all that stuff. I am not a huge fan of free themes, and I will tell you why. If somebody does a free theme, they build a free theme for you, they let you use it, they don't have any incentive to keep it updated. They don't have any incentive to make sure it's secure. They don't have any incentive to add new bells and whistles and stuff like that to it. If someone gives you a paid theme, you usually have to give them a small fee every year to keep it updated, but that is going to make sure that they want to keep it updated, that it's going to stay updated. They're not just going to disappear and leave you high and dry. So we use paid themes with our clients. Usually it's a nominal fee to get one of the paid themes. There's a bunch of theme developers out there, but it gives them a little more incentive to keep that updated. So I would highly recommend. If you're just starting out, sure, go ahead, try a free theme if you don't want to go for the paid themes. But I would, look at the pros and cons on that for sure. Next, we have plugins. So plugins are fun because this is where you add in all the amazing functionality. So plugins, you can install right inside your dashboard. Again, you don't need to know any code. You go to Plugins, Add New, and when you click Add New, it'll pull up all of the plugins in the WordPress directory. And then you can search for a plugin. Like you can search for a plugin and say, I want to add social icons or social buttons to my website. It'll pull in all the plugins that allow you to add social buttons. You see one of them, you click Install Now, you install it, you go configure it, so you add in your Facebook, your Twitter URLs, all of a sudden you have social icons on all of your blog posts, just like that. So it really adds amazing functionality without you having to really know anything. There are tons of plugins out there. We'll talk about some of our favorites here in a little bit, but the key is you don't need to know how to code or do any of that crazy stuff. Here's some of the plugins that we love, and when you guys get the slides, you'll be able to print them out, but these are the ones that we install on all of our clients' websites just from the start, and we recommend you start with them as well. iTheme Security helps keep it secure. Gravity Forms, you can build just amazing complex forms with conditionals, all that stuff, great for volunteer things. Beaver Builder, it's a visual website builder, so instead of having to know HTML and move things around and build a table by hand, it's a visual builder where you can literally add whole blocks of really amazing HTML without knowing HTML. You say, I love the way they've done this picture, and you just drag it over and easily configure it. You can learn more about that. You can add an event calendar with the event calendar. You can take care of spam. You can optimize your SEO with a plugin called Yoast SEO. It automatically adds all kinds of extra SEO features, so you don't even need to think about it. Backup Buddy, that's the backup plugin that we love. It'll back up your website on a daily basis, even store it off-site if you want to. And then there's a bunch of new players in the space now that are doing online donations for WordPress websites. One of the big ones is called Give. You add the Give plugin. It's free to use the basic plugin, and then you can add on extra features. So if you want recurring giving, and if you want to use Stripe as your payment gateway, you pay a little bit of money, you add those into, you have online donations with really just a few clicks. So definitely some ones I recommend that you check out. And finally, content. Like I said, it's the one thing that it can't do for you, but it makes it very easy. You can easily add new pages. You can add new blog posts. You can add images, videos, sidebars, even widgets, all of that stuff. And you can use the visual builders like Beaver Builder, like I just told about. This is one of my favorite things because, like we said in the beginning, one of the biggest problems with WordPress, websites right now is they don't get updated enough and people find them stale and boring. This helps you to where you're always updating your blog, easily adding in videos and all of that stuff. Norm asked in the chat over here, do you like Jetpack? I am not a huge fan of Jetpack, and I will tell you why. So Jetpack is a plugin that you can install into WordPress, and you install Jetpack, and it installs like 15 or 20 different plugins. And what I've found is anytime you do something that tries to add that much functionality into one thing, there's like 1 or 2 things of it you like, and the other 18 you kind of don't like. And you're like, so you're really adding a lot of overhead. You're adding a lot of code to your website just for those 2 plugins that you actually use. And I would suggest that you could probably find individual plugins that work better than Jetpack for those 2 things that you want. And Amy also noted in the chat here that WP Engine didn't even allow her to keep it. And it's, I think, exactly what I said. It's a lot of overhead. It can actually slow down your website quite dramatically. So WP Engine probably says, no, we don't allow that because it's just not that good of a plugin. So that's my advice there. A little bonus is widgets. So widgets are another thing you can do within WordPress, and that is little pieces of code that you can put on different areas of your website. So on our website here, this is our blog post with the manifesto. Over on the right side is the right sidebar. We have a recent post widget, and we have a subscribe widget. And all we do is we say over on the right side, I want to put this widget, and we say what widget we want to use, and we say put our opt-in box there. We configure our opt-in box. It shows there. Our recent post shows above that. That recent post widget, I never have to remember to go in and add our most recent blog post on that. It automatically updates every time we publish a post. So again, just another cool dynamic feature of a content management system. Let's see, we're going into a bit more on the how. So as we get a little bit more into the how, and I know we're kind of running short on time, so I'll kind of go through this a little quick, but we'll get into some of the how here. So some of the how stuff is installing and setting up WordPress. Like I said, you can do it manually if you want. There's great resources online. If you want to go directly to the source, you can go to WordPress.org. They walk you through all the steps on how to install WordPress. But whoever you host with, they're also going to have help. So like SiteGround has a how to install WordPress article that you can follow down step by step. Or you can always have someone do it for you or use one of their one-click installs. So don't get hung up on installing and setting up WordPress. There is help out there for that as well. Learning WordPress, definitely a couple resources. We've talked a little bit about these here. One, go to the source. There's a WordPress lessons page right on the WordPress.org website where they give their lessons on WordPress, so you can definitely start there. You can also, like I said, search online. How do I blah, blah in WordPress? And you're going to find all kinds of videos. There's also online courses. We have online courses. Other people have online courses out there that usually go a little more in-depth and kind of give you more of the best practices and all of that stuff, so you can find those resources out there as well. Finally, supporting WordPress. So this is probably another one that really bogs down a lot of clients and something that I see them get in trouble for. Again, one of the reasons why we started Try Summit was to try and provide some of this support to the nonprofit community. But there are some places that you can start if you can't afford to hire someone to do support. One is check your staff and board. Many of them may already know how to use WordPress or really like to use WordPress or want to learn it. And they could become your WordPress, your first line of WordPress support. A lot of folks have these skills and you might not even know it, so do a quick survey, find out which of your staff knows that. You can hire part-time or a consultant. You can also do what's now called these monthly support plans. This is one of the things that we offer. We offer a monthly support plan where our clients can submit as many WordPress support tickets as they want over the month for a one-time monthly fee. We become their help desk for that. So and there's other companies that do it as well. So don't just look at ours. You can compare us to anyone that you would like. And from there, more help is on the way. We're going to be wrapping up here in a second and get to those questions, that Q&A. Just wanted to mention we are doing a lot. Try Summit Solutions. We'd love for you to check us out, read our manifesto. We have a lot of things coming down the pipe. In fact, you guys will get an email from me in the next week or so. We got some new features, some new products coming out that we think you guys might be interested in, so keep an eye out for that. But let's get into the wrap-up. Wrapping up, the one thing I really want to tell you is tackle this. You need to tackle this. There's a Chinese proverb that I like to use all the time, and that is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So for what we're talking about today, the best time to have redone your website was a year ago. The second best time is now. So spend some time to really focus on cleaning up your website at the very least, figuring out how you can add content to it, or looking at WordPress as an option for you moving forward. So a little bit of homework for you. I want you to give your current website an honest review, decide if it's time for a new website, and then start exploring WordPress. Use some of the links and look at some of the examples that I'm going to give you in the slides here. And then compare it to other platforms. Compare it to Weebly. Compare it to Wix. Talk to your friends and colleagues in the industry. What are the platforms that they really like and use? And the most important thing from there, take action. Do something with this information. Start doing it. And from there, Q&A. So let's get into the questions and answers. Amy just said it's up to you, but I can stay or pass the top of the hour if you want to. I know there are some. Yes, I can stay as long as people have questions. So I'm totally fine. I know I went a little longer than I wanted to, but we're into the Q&A portion. All my contact information is on the screen. If you have questions, if you think of a question after we get off, definitely just shoot me an email. I can definitely answer your questions, but let's hop into the questions here. I don't know, Amy, did you want to come back on the phone to ask, or did you want to type them in?
I am here, so yeah, I'll just jump in. And well, Rich, thank you. And I was just curious. Here's the biggest question: do you like WordPress?
Oh, no, I'm actually really disappointed in it. Yeah, I love WordPress.
It shows, and I think thank you for sharing this. Actually, TopNonprofits is built on WordPress. I use it, and I'm not, I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder, and I find it pretty easy to use. And but when I need help, I can call somebody. I have called Rich for help, and it's definitely great that there are so many people who understand it and can help too. So with that, and Rich is easy to work with, of course. So let me get to some of the questions. First, we had a question, and actually Norm and Melissa both had questions. They're somewhat similar. It's once you have a site and it's already built on, let's say, WordPress.com. Wait a second. Talk about the differences between using hosted WordPress.com and locally installed WordPress.org. Is there a way? And what you did talk about those differences. If you're how difficult is it to transfer your site from one to the other? And then if you could also speak to, you already have a website, how much is involved in transferring over to WordPress from a different type of platform?
Okay, yeah. So going from WordPress.com to WordPress.org is actually not that bad. You can export all of your content from WordPress.com. It exports it as an XML file. There's an export tool in WordPress.com. Then you go to your WordPress.org. You've already got that installed. And you go to WordPress.org and you do imports. And it'll import all of your posts, all of your pages, all of your content. Where you'll probably have to do a little more work, though, is getting the look and feel right. So, like I said, WordPress.com locks down some of the functionality, and that functionality is now going to be opened up on WordPress.org, so there's sometimes some differences there. So you'd have to reformat. You probably want to pick a new theme. WordPress.com also doesn't allow all of the themes that you might want to use, and so you probably were using a theme over there you really didn't like. So it's a good time to upgrade to a new theme that's even more cool and more modern and maybe looks like Beyonce's, something like that. So yeah, so it's definitely possible. There would definitely be some work there. Now, going from another tool like a Weebly or a Wix or something like that to WordPress.org, that could be a lot more difficult depending how much content you have. You can definitely try to export your content from that other system. It's probably going to be different importing it into WordPress. They each use their own databases. They each use their own back-end sort of functionality, software, all of that stuff. So that might be more difficult. What I would suggest there, and we work with our clients on this sometimes when we're doing a migration like that, is first step, go to your current site and say, what content do we really need to carry over? Because really, if some of your content's probably so old, you probably don't need it. Whittle that down to the top pages that you know that you need over on the new website. And then, in some ways, it's just easier to migrate those over by hand. Because then you're going to get them formatted just the way you want. Even if you could import them, you'd probably have to do so much cleanup on it, it's probably not worth it. But there are paths to all of those options. Some just might take a little more work.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute there. So that's helpful, thank you. And the another question we had with regard to going from, this is Randy, thanks Randy. I was actually going to ask Randy to resend his question. He had something earlier about commerce, so maybe e-commerce. Maybe you can speak to how e-commerce plays on WordPress sites, but this other question is about how difficult is it to go from Drupal to WordPress?
I guess that depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to your Drupal developer, he's going to tell you it's impossible. Don't even try it. So, yeah, I mean, I think you come up with some of the same issues. That one is probably going to be a little easier in that I'll bet you there's a lot of people that have done it, so they might have some good tips and tricks online. I haven't done a Drupal to WordPress conversion in a while. The last time I did one, we did decide to make it more of a manual process instead of using any automated tools because we wanted total control of how the content looked and kind of how it came over. So again, it all depends on how many pages you have on your site. If you have 1,000 pages and you really want to keep those 1,000 pages, you better look for a more automated solution. You're still probably gonna have to go in and clean up content. But you know, if you're 50 pages, 30 pages, that's something where I would probably look at doing it by hand so you can really control it. And then why I say doing it by hand is if you come over to WordPress and you're using some of our recommended plugins, especially one like Beaver Builder, which is the visual website builder, you can create such amazing content with this visual builder, you know, big blocks of color and beautiful photos and photos that look like tiles and they spin and they do all this really cool stuff. That's not just going to come over in an import. You're going to have to go in and kind of massage that content a little bit anyways, but the end result is so worth it to make a really interactive, beautiful website that's going to get your supporters to actually engage, actually click on things and want to read it and all that stuff. So I think the work is worth it. But yeah, it's definitely not going to be painless. So I'm not going to lie to you. There's definitely going to be work involved there.
And yeah, and let me also just quickly say thanks to Rich too for the plug on the top 20 websites. That is, that's something Craig did, and he is updating it. We'll have a new one out in the coming month or so. But something he's really excited about and plays nicely too with what you're talking about, Rich, is he just put together a list of the top of donation pages. So he really kind of took a close look at different nonprofit organizations and which donation pages worked well and why. So that's kind of one of those things to keep in mind. Yeah. So we have a question also from Lisa. She wanted to have a sense as to, what to expect in terms of budget pricing.
For a new WordPress website?
For a new WordPress website, yeah. Sorry.
Yep. So I mean, you can definitely shop around. I will tell you what, kind of some basics on our pricing, and then something really exciting that we have coming out next week. We're going to start talking to people about it. So for a custom WordPress website, and that is we work with you one-on-one. We do, needs assessments, and we do wireframes, and we get all your content. We do all that. So for a custom website, we start at right about $5,000. For a fairly basic website, we go all the way up to $20,000 depending on the functionality that you want. So that's for folks that really want that sort of custom website solution. But we do have a product coming out. It's going to start, actually, we're going to start telling people about it next week. In fact, I'll be sending you guys an email about it because you'll be on our list now. And it's going to launch on March 21st. It's something that we're calling Tri-Summit Sites. And working in the nonprofit space, I know how hard it is for small, medium-sized nonprofits to come up with $5,000, $10,000 in order to get a new website. And so we're coming up with a deal that's called Tri-Summit Sites. It's going to be, coming out of the gate, it's going to be about $1,000, I think, startup cost, and then it's going to be a monthly fee. And that monthly fee is going to include your support. So we have clients that pay us $97 a month for unlimited support. We help you with your WordPress website, any problems you have. So we're going to build the website based on a template. You're not going to have as much control as a custom-built website. We're going to be able to choose from 7 or 8, 9 templates, whatever we do. If you have a template you really like, we'll see if we can build that one for you. We're going to get your logo in there, give it your right colors. We're going to add maybe 10 pages of your content, and then we're going to teach you how to use it. So it's kind of a nice, we think a nice mix of DIY and the help that you need when you need it. And then with your monthly fee, which we're still working on the price, but it's going to be about $97 a month, then we're going to be there to help you with your site whenever you need it. So if something breaks, something goes down, we're there to fix it. If you want to add a new widget, we're there to add it for you. We also update your website for you. We update your plugins for you. We keep your website backed up with daily backups. We restore it if there's any problems. We do all the security on it. So we basically are trying to make this a all-in-one for those small, medium-sized nonprofits. I'm a little nervous coming out with it because we're definitely going to lose money on every individual site that we launch, but we're hoping that if we get enough nonprofits together all supporting this sort of style of website, that will actually, all kind of come out ahead with it. So that would be the range if you wanted to work with us. You can go talk to others, other designers, other consulting shops, and kind of get quotes from them as well.
Okay, thank you. And we have two more questions if you have time for that, Rich. One is a question, one is a comment. Okay, great. So question from Norm. Hey, Norm, iThemes or WordFence? That is his question, and I'm assuming you know how to answer that.
Yes. So he's asking the iThemes security plugin versus the WordFence security plugin.
Thank you.
And again, this is going to be like Drupal versus WordPress. Everybody has their favorite tool that they like to use. I used to use WordPress or WordFence, and about a year ago, I changed over to iThemes security, and I have found it to be easier to use. It has the exact features that I want. It doesn't seem overbloated with other stuff. So for me, it's iThemes security. I've been using it with my clients now for the last 8-9 months, and I've had just great success with it. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of iThemes security. And that's another thing we do with the clients that are on board with us. We actually install premium plugins for you. It's plugins that we have to pay for, a developer license. You would have to pay for individually, but we install it for you. So we install iThemes Pro onto all of our client sites. So that's a step up from the free iThemes that you get in the WordPress directory. It adds in some extra features and extra functionality to protect your site even more. So yeah, so Norm, I'm a huge fan of iThemes security.
And Norm says, thank you, Rich. And we've got, here, I'll sneak in the comment from Michelle at Texas Pioneer Foundation. She says, hello.
Hey, Michelle.
She wants to get back in touch. She said, she's definitely interested in working.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you so much. I saw your email come in last night, and Amy will attest to this, that I was still working on these slides last night, much to Amy's chagrin, and so I wasn't able to get back to you. I totally stressed Amy out with not having my slides turned in early enough, so that's why I didn't respond back to you, but I'm definitely going to respond back to you today, Michelle. Thank you.
Perfect. So with that, good. I'm glad to connect everybody. And let me ask one last question that came in from Natalie. Natalie wanted to know if you can change the website theme by yourself if an outside web firm previously picked and customized your current website theme. And I'm assuming this is in WordPress. So.
Yeah, that is scary. That all depends how that firm created the theme. So if they did it correctly, they should have not put any, they shouldn't have edited the theme itself. They shouldn't have added any functionality into just that theme. They should have created what's called a child theme. So if you go into your WordPress under Appearance Themes, you should see one that says the name of your theme, Child. And if you don't see that, then they probably put a lot of functionality into that theme, and it might be hard to switch out. But there is an easy way to find out how hard that would be, and that is if you go in there, you add the new theme into your system, and before you turn it on, you can click Live Preview of the new theme. You can click Live Preview, and you can kind of see how bad it looks. But usually if it was a custom developed theme from a developer, I can almost guarantee they put stuff in that theme that would make it really hard for you would make it harder to switch. And so in those cases, what we usually recommend is you put your website on what's called a staging server. So if you have hosting, you basically reinstall your WordPress website in a subdirectory, and only you know how to get to that. And so you use that as your testing ground. You install your new theme, turn it on, you see how bad it is, and then you go in and start fixing some of the problems. Once you get it the way you like, then you migrate that back over and make it your live site again. So again, something like that, something you probably would have to get some help with if you're not that comfortable hacking and editing stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I would say it would probably be, you would probably need some help with something like that, because most custom developed themes are going to have a lot of features kind of built in that you would lose when you move to a new theme, and you'd have to kind of rebuild those. Yeah, sorry, not a great answer on that one, I know. Something we try to do with our clients is, a theme we use a lot with our clients now is the Beaver Builder theme. So it's built on the Beaver Builder visual builder, and we try to add all of the features that we're doing into what's called the customizer. And the customizer is a section that you have access to right in the admin panel. And so there's nothing like code hidden under the hood that you guys can't see. We try to put all that code where you can also see it. So if you did want to move later, it would be much easier for you to do that. It's one of the things that we really strive to do is and what I always tell my clients is, I want to make it so where you could fire us at any moment and go to someone else if you wanted to. But because of that, we're gonna earn our keep, and hopefully you won't fire us because you just love us so much. So that's our goal.
Thank you. And Natalie, I think Natalie's still on the call, but she may not be. I hope that answered your question. But to Natalie and to everybody else on the call today, please reach out to Rich directly. His contact, let me get your email address. I know somebody just was asking for it.
It should be up on the screen right there. It's rich@trisummitSolutions.com.
Thank you. Rich@trisummitSolutions.com. Oh, Natalie said yes, thank you. So you did answer her question. So everybody, feel free to reach out to Rich. You're going to get an email this afternoon, probably in about an hour or so, that it has the complete recording. The cool thing about this webinar platform is that you can still ask questions on demand. And if you ask a question, I guess I will get it or Rich will get it, and somebody will get back to you. Because sometimes you think of those questions later. I know it happens to me all the time. For the rest of you, for everybody out there, if you haven't done so already, please do take the survey. That's definitely helpful to us. And, thanks so much. It's been a great group here. Thanks so much to Rich for lending your time and expertise. Clearly, we have, I would say 99.9% of the people who attended today stayed on for this entire time. So clearly it's an important topic, and we all need to make sure that our websites are up and running properly and look good, because our donors are really comparing our service and interaction, the experience on our website to the one that they just had on Amazon. So it's no longer, nonprofit websites aren't just nonprofits. You're competing with the rest of the commercial world.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
Well, thank you all so much. And Rich, I hope you'll come back again, and look forward to hearing from everybody. Let us know what you think, and definitely reach out to Rich if he can be of any help.
Most definitely. Thank you very much, everybody. I had a great time, great questions, great group of people, very interactive. I love it. It's much better than just sitting here and talking to myself. So thanks for being so interactive with it. And just reach out if you have any questions. We'd be happy to talk to you. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.